So explain to us what you think this Donald Trump phenomenon is about. Is it celebrity, or is he saying something that has a response within your party?
Well, I hope there's not much of a market for slandering POWs in my party. I don't think there is. I don't need a poll to tell Donald Trump it's not good to say that John McCain's a loser because he was captured in a time of war. It's not good to say that 11 million illegal immigrants are rapists and drug dealers when they're not. All I can say is that this is turning into a circus, and there comes a point in time.
Damaging the party.
Yeah, I don't care if he drops out. Stay in the race. Just stop being a jackass.
I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. He came out, he started calling me a jackass on every program. The guy's got 0 in the polls. He's got nothing. He's got nothing going anyway. I don't even think he's very popular in his own state, because you heard the applause I was getting. And I did it for fun, and everybody had a good time, and we had a packed house. I don't regret it at all. No. Well, he calls me names. You have to fight back. I mean, all of a sudden, these guys are calling me names. I'm trying to be nice. I want to be nice. I'm a nice person. But everybody's calling me names, and I guess since I went to #1 in the polls, they're having a field day on me.
I love what he did to Lindsey Graham. I love that. It's hilarious. Lindsey Graham deserved it. And he did it. Trump's not going to take your crap. It's awesome.
You're fired.
I lit out from Reno, Australia by 20 hands. Didn't get sleep last night till the morning came around. Said I'm running, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. If I get home before daylight, might get some sleep tonight. Well,
that was Lindsey Graham with Charlie Rose on CBS, followed by Donald Trump somewhere, and then Sean Hannity at the very end, who loves Donald Trump, as does Bill O'Reilly, and a lot of us do. I'm not sure my cousin does. In fact, based upon a short conversation yesterday, I don't think he does at all, but he does love Lindsey Graham. Donald said some things there, though, that are going to be hard to dispute, even for Norm, which is Donald is #1 in the polls, and Lindsey is right now in an abyss in the middle of nowhere. But with all that said, I love my cousin to death. He was the mayor of St. Paul for 8 years and senator from the great state of Minnesota. Really proud of him. And he joins us live this morning with his perspective, always a good one. Norm, good morning, pal. How are you?
Good morning. How can you love Donald Trump?
Well, let me get to that. No, let me get to that afterwards. Let me start with this. I want to do some sports first, then I'll tell you why I love Donald Trump, okay? I know you're a Met fan, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and all that stuff, but is there any excitement? I know your Minnesota Twins have lost 4 in a row. You're a big Twins guy. Any excitement that the Yankees are coming into town later on tonight?
Well, the challenge with the Yankees coming into town is the psychological barrier that the Twins have with the Yankees. Where no matter, it's I don't know what it is. It's you would think after the same players aren't there anymore that it would be gone, but it kind of hangs over. It hangs over. Yeah. The reality is, I tell you, they're playing. Phil Hughes, Yankees, right? He's pitching. He's the real deal.
They've been great. No, they've been
Santana.
great.
They've got some folks out there now that are playing. Sano, this big kid. He was at one time about 380. I think he was hitting 311 last night, and so he's coming back to earth. But he's got he's got the power, and he's got the patience you don't see in a really raw rookie. I think he went from Double-A up to the majors. So the Twins are. No one thought we'd be where we are today. The season's not over. It was a great first half. I don't know where it will end up. As you can tell, I'm not totally convinced that they could make it through the long haul because they don't have superstars. Joe Mauer is kind of brought down to earth. I think he's hitting about 275. He's the greatest hitter certainly the Twins have had in baseball scene, I think, for a while, and yet he's now cooled down. So, but it's a lot of fun. So that's all. Baseball is fun. The Yankees will be fun. But for whatever reason, the Yankees seem to always have the Twins' number. They started off a little slow. They're playing baseball. So hey, you got to love the game. You got to love America's pastime.
Molitor's done a very good job there, and maybe bringing back a little of the
and
Tom Kelly.
Yeah. He's just you see class and character and the ability to make the signature of great leaders is that they get the best out of folks. They turn even great athletes, into a team more than the whole being more than some of the parts. And Molitor has, in a short time, has shown that he's the real deal. He's the real deal. He played the real deal Hall of Famer, and he's carried that somehow into the clubhouse. Not everybody can do that, and it certainly had an impact on a kind of a middling group of players, okay, the Twins, who have been playing some great baseball, certainly through the All-Star break, and we'll see how it plays out the second half.
You used the word class. I'm not sure if you caught Marco Rubio on Fox with Friends yesterday, Fox and Friends, but he was talking about Donald Trump, and the exact word he used was class. He says he doesn't have any. He said, and his quote was pretty amazing, we already have a president that has no class, a president that has no problem taking selfies on a stick, that brings on comedians from YouTube, that eats cereal out of a bathtub, that has no problem yucking it up with Jon Stewart last night over something as important as the Iran deal. He actually made the comparison between Trump and Obama in that neither guy has any class. Now, here's why I like Donald. We know that. We don't care. We don't want class. We don't want politically correct. We don't care who he talks badly about, what he says. We want somebody who's pissed. You understand, Norm, there's a large group of Americans.
Let me jump in. Let me just right here. I do get it, but I want you to kind of put the logical brain on, which doesn't always operate for everybody. I'm being very blunt. That's not a put down that some people just, some operate just from the heart and the gut, and some from the head. But real honest look in the mirror. You want that. You want to hear that voice. You're boiling over those idiots in Washington, those buffoon politicians, but you really don't want him to be president. You really don't want your kids to look up and say, that's the president of the United States. You don't want that.
Why is that?
And I don't.
Why is that, though? Because if you're holding the president to a different moral standard.
Because you really think that this guy could operate, could bring people together, that this guy could solve problems, that this guy could I mean, you really think, honestly, that he's going to build a fence and charge the Mexicans? You really think that's going to really happen? You got to know that this is hucksterism. This is B as in B, S as in S. But does it respond to this nerve in you that says those idiots in Washington have messed everything up? So Donald Trump, how many times has he been in bankruptcy? He's going to fix it? You got to know better than that. You really want your kid to look at is Donald Trump the model for your kid as leader of the country?
I'm not worried about the model.
Yes or no?
No, listen.
You want your kids to grow up and see Donald Trump as the president of the United States?
Was Bill Clinton? He was a great president. 8 years of a surplus in this country, and this guy was impeached because he's having an affair with somebody in his office. I don't look at the president for moral turpitude.
What does that have to do with Donald Trump? I'm asking you the question. I'm not.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes.
But you want your kids calling everyone jerks and idiots and this and that. That's not the way it's. So that's what Marco's saying about class. So is he responding to an anger? But so did demagogues do that? Okay, so that's what they do. They get people fired up. Raise the pitchfork. By the way, Sid, I got to tell you, as a Jew, I get a little worried about people. I get worried about people kind of rising up and this, and I like a little more rational kind of rationality in this process. So, listen, is he real? Does one minute he's pro-life, the other minute he's pro-choice. Now he's pro-life. He's for universal health care, but now he's against it. And you can, everyone goes back and forth. No, within one paragraph, you listen to the guy, track it. Do you think he believes what he says, or he just says it? So,
well, listen,
people, is it show? Is it do shows get good ratings? Reality TV gets great ratings.
Yeah.
Hey, you want so he's going to what? It's going to be Donald Trump and Kim Kardashian. She's going to be the vice president. That's a great combination.
But here's
why not? Why not? Why not Kim Kardashian?
But here's the deal, Norm. But here's the deal, and unfortunately, it speaks to your friend Lindsay and everybody else. He's leading in the polls because obviously people do see the.
Let me jump on that. You got the same polls say that 67% of the American public would never vote for him.
I understand.
But when you got 17 people in a race, okay, and one guy gets 17% or 18, whatever, you're going to get 20, 25%. That's not. You even think for one moment, is there any poll that says that this guy could be president? When you got every poll says you got almost 2/3 of the public saying that they'd never vote for him. So he's leading in a 19-person race. I forgot how many have joined now. The Kasich joined 17 at this point. Right? Person race. Right now he's leading. In be less than 20% or whatever. And so he's never going to sit. He's not going to be the candidate. He's not going to be the president. Okay, those are the polls.
I don't disagree, but what I'm saying is that whether it's Jeb Bush or Scott Walker or Marco or your guy Lindsay, this does go to show you that the rest of these Republicans, 16 of them, as you mentioned, John Kasich, aren't exactly lighting a fire under America. So he will not be president. You're right. He won't win the primary, but other guys have had opportunities to step up, and guess what? They're not. Maybe the debate will change that, but when will somebody else step up and say, hey, there's my alternative?
when you have 17 people in a race, okay, it will take a while for it to sort out. Okay, not so is there one magic man out there? No, there's not a magic man, but it certainly isn't Donald Trump. Again, 3/4 of the public would never even vote for this guy.
So move off him. Then who is it?
So listen, hucksters and demagogues can get people fired up. You know, storm the Bastille. They can get them fired up. But in the end, rationally, do you want someone who really is crude and crass and really doesn't represent the things that you'd want, I think, for your own family in terms of the way you conduct yourself, the way you deal with people? You know, it may be good for reality TV, and sometimes it's certainly good for talk radio. But in terms of the leader of the free world, and so, yeah, Bill Clinton did something he should shame on him.
That's
okay?
right.
And Barack Obama has conducted himself in a way that shame on him.
That's right.
But does that mean that so does that mean that you give credence to a Donald Trump? I don't think so. So that's let's see this thing play out. But I have no doubt whatsoever. I can tell you this right now: he's not going to be the Republican nominee. And certainly, he will never, ever be the president.
No, that's a safe bet. I don't
that's
disagree.
A good thing.
No, I don't disagree. That's a safe bet. I don't mind crude and crass, by the way. Just getting back to what you're talking about, it doesn't bother me. I don't. I'm serious. I don't. I don't care. I mean, I'm serious. I don't care.
And so he's got his TV is his place. You know, get him on a radio show.
No, forget about him. Forget about him. Give me an alternative that could also be crude, crass, not care, not be politically correct all the time, and we'll get stuff done. Is it Lindsey? Is it Jeb? Who's that guy?
You know, I think Lindsey speaks his mind all the time. He gets grief for it. I think he speaks his mind. Does Mark or Jeb, they speak to me? I'm trying to understand kind of what's the, these are honest people of character, people who actually weigh. So it's a bad thing to actually think about something before you say it. I mean, I keep getting back to what I teach my kids, okay? Before you engage your tongue, okay, make sure that you've engaged your brain. And so somehow it's a good thing to have a short space between tongue and brain. In other words, there shouldn't be any thoughtfulness into what you say. I understand the attractiveness of it, but I don't know in terms of construct. I was a mayor, Sid. I'm a rational, I'm a pragmatic person. I'm not the most ideological in the world. I'm a good conservative, but I understand you got to listen to the other side. I don't presume that I'm the smartest guy all the time. That somebody else may have an answer, and at least I should listen. Good Lord gave us 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in that proportion in the business, in the political business. And so I don't think that it's a negative, to actually be thoughtful, to consider. If you make a mistake, to apologize. Look at the McCain thing. He doesn't apologize to John McCain.
No.
And John McCain, let me tell you, John McCain's captured. His dad is an admiral. Okay, an admiral. John McCain could have walked out of that prison camp. Would have walked out. All he had to do was turn on his brothers in arms. Okay? And he didn't. And so he was there for 5 years with the most incredible torture you could ever imagine. And Trump calls him a loser.
Listen, that was idiotic. I don't defend that.
But it's an example of not engaging your tongue
but let me ask you this.
With your brain.
I got you.
And then not having the dignity to actually say I was wrong.
What about the other side? He's not going to say he was wrong. And by the way, he shouldn't. So what about the other side here, which is we all admit what he said was idiotic and offensive. I'm with you on that 1,000%. But what about the other side that says, but I'll tell you something, he's the guy bringing up the fact that veterans are treated shabbily here. He's the guy bringing up the issues with immigration. You may not like what he said about the Mexicans and John McCain, but at least he's bringing it up.
Wait, so you don't think that John McCain has been working on veteran stuff his entire career?
He's done a poor job.
Graham has been a champion, by the way, on talking about immigration. What do you mean bringing it up? He brings. So you're assuming that Jeb Bush hasn't brought up immigration. You may not like what he says, but Jeb Bush has been working thoughtfully on immigration. Lindsey Graham has been working thoughtfully. So what you mean to tell me that it wasn't talked about? That people aren't. That John McCain didn't kind of light a fire under the VA. John McCain hasn't been a champion of his brothers in arms. It's I love you dearly, but it's an absurd statement. It's all of a sudden like Donald Trump is raising things that no one else is talking about.
Well, listen, Norm.
Other people, Donald Trump, he raises it, and everyone.
Other people are talking about it. Other people are talking about it, but it's not striking a chord. Who cares if Jeb Bush brings it up? It has struck a chord. The country is talking. This is not me saying this. This is media guys, political pundits. Quite frankly, some guys in his own party that have no problem killing. It's not me. Fact is, Jeb Bush talks about it. Nobody cares. Nobody listens. Trump talks about it. It becomes dialogue for the country. How could you argue that?
What I'm missing is so So Donald Trump is calling immigrants rapists and this and that, and so and is that supposed to be a good thing? There are constructive ways, Sid, to solve a problem. Doesn't mean you just shout about it. Okay, so Donald Trump is good about shouting about things. He hasn't shown me any ability to actually solve anything, to fix anything. So he's done nothing in that regard. He hasn't offered anything constructive, anything realistic. But he's going to build a fence. He's going to charge the Mexicans for it. That's a genius. Boy, the light bulb really goes on there. I mean, so the answer is so what? So Donald Trump says something. Will it get media attention? Yeah, but move that into the realm of actually fixing something, solving something, offering something constructive. Lindsey Graham has done that. Jeb Bush has done that. Marco Rubio has done that. Scott Walker as governor, Chris Christie. They deal. Chris Christie, by the way, okay? Chris Christie, he lights a fire. Okay, he says what he thinks. I mean, there's no question about it. He gets grief for it. But he's certainly not over the edge, crass, demagogic Donald Trump. So Chris Christie, maybe he's your man. Maybe he's your man. If that's what you're looking for, maybe Chris Christie's your man. Maybe Lindsey Graham. Listen to Lindsey. He just says things, not as mean-spirited, but just says it. Maybe he's your man. But just because just because you kind of get publicity, just because you can suck all the oxygen out of it, in terms of a debate, because you're the guy that says the most outrageous thing, it doesn't mean that one, you should that you're actually doing something constructive.
I don't disagree.
Most important,
I don't disagree.
You shouldn't be carrying the party banner. I think Donald Trump is a phenomena. There's a media phenomena. But I haven't seen anything constructive. I haven't seen anything out of him that would all move me to say, give him a pat on the back because he's added something to the dialogue.
Let me ask you this. I know you love Lindsey, okay? There will be some. This is not me. I'm talking on behalf of the Chuck Todds, of the other folks around the country that raise these questions every single day. There will be some that'll say, look, Lindsey's got no shot. He's not even polling right now. He might even make the first debate. So if I go out there and I vote for Lindsey Graham, in essence, I'm kind of wasting my vote. Why not, if I'm going to go in the direction of Donald Trump, either go to Jeb Bush or Scott Walker, Marco Rubio, one of the guys that has a legitimate shot on the GOP side? Voting for those other guys is a waste of a vote. What is your thought about that?
Well, two things. First of all, I just went back to Lindsey. One of the things you talk about, raising the issue. Lindsey is, without a doubt, the most articulate person. The guy's been raising the issue about the Iran deal more than anybody else. Okay, he's out there consistently. And so that's important. I think he'll actually make for better candidates on the others in the field because he raises the bar. He knows what's going. He knows the Israelis. He knows the Saudi. He knows the Iranians. And so you've got somebody there who's expert in probably, I think, right now the most important issue of our time. Stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon is the most important issue of our time. I'm working on it to try to, stop them from getting a nuclear bomb because it's not just about Israel. It's about the United States. It's about nuclear proliferation in the region. If the Iranians get a bomb, I don't think the Saudis are going to sit back and say Iran's going to be the nuclear power in the region. And I don't know what the Egyptians will do. Who knows what the Turks will do? And by the way, if you follow this deal, after 10 years, that's what the Iranians get. That's what they get.
It's not going to make it.
$150 billion right away.
Right.
They get the ballistic missile research. They get advanced nuclear research. They get sanctions all off, and in 10 years they get a
It'll
bomb.
never get that far because paragraph 36 in this deal explains that either side can get out at any time. Listen, the Iranians can very well take the money and run and say no thanks.
Yeah, but they don't have to sit. They can abide by the deal. And 10 years is a blink of the eye.
Right.
It's a blink of the eye in the life of a nation. They cheat all the time anyway.
Right.
But they don't have to cheat. They can just take this deal, and in 10 years they get a nuclear weapon.
That's why we have to hope
and it's Katie bar the door. But
that's why we have to hope that a Republican takes over in 2017 and claims breach of contract and kills this deal.
Well, and that may be what you need because the fact is it's not a quote treaty. So it's an executive action, so the next president can change it. But on the other hand, by that time, Sid, by that time, the Iranians will have gotten $150 billion in cash.
I know.
Okay, which they're going to use to support Hamas and Hezbollah. They're going to use to support terrorists. That's why the Israelis are so flipped out, because it's not just about having a bomb. It's giving them $150 billion, and they're still chanting death to Israel and death to America. And that's going to go in the hands of these terrorist groups, and a bad neighborhood becomes a much tougher neighborhood. But getting back to Lindsey, put away the you said it before, no one's caught fire. Don't waste your vote. Just at this point in time, anything can happen. Is Lindsey a long shot? Absolutely. But I think it's a little bit too early to say, well, if you waste your vote on this guy and not on this guy, let's see how this thing plays out. Let's see as the debate goes forward and people start talking about issues like Iran. Who's the person who's been smartest, been most consistent? And I think that's Lindsey. And is he a long shot? You bet it. But I'm not against backing long shots. You never know what happens in this business. All that said and done, I know the other guys in the race. They're very decent guys. None of them are Donald Trump.
I would ask you this then. Is it somewhat frustrating, Norm, as a GOP guy, a friend of Lindsey Graham, you know all the rest of these guys, you like, excluding Donald Trump, let's get him out of the mix, okay? Is it somewhat frustrating that Hillary literally has to do nothing? Bernie Sanders is not going to catch her. Let's stop that nonsense, okay? She has to do nothing. She's in, all right? And basically, it's if the GOP doesn't step up and do something very impressive here, then we're going to get a third-term Democrat. Is that somewhat frustrating for you?
It's a little frustrating. I think a lot of folks will vote for Hillary simply because she's a woman. On the other hand, Sid, it's interesting because you do, and I don't want to kind of get into polls because we put too much reliance on them. But within the polls, you are seeing a lot of folks, particularly in the swing states. Poll just came out the other day, shows her in deep trouble in those swing states. The fact is that she's not credible, okay? And I think the more you kind of get that out, she's not credible. Okay, she's not credible about Benghazi. She's not credible about being dead broke when she got out of the White House. She's not credible about her emails about the servers and what. I mean, she's just not. It's like there's one rule for the rest of us, okay, and then another rule for the Clintons, for Hillary, and I think that's beginning to kind of have an impact. So at this point, has she got a clear shot? Yeah, she has a clear shot. On the other hand, there is a sense that, that can I really trust? Can I really trust her? And Americans are beginning to say no. And so at this point, it is what it is. It's nature of the democratic process. They've got one horse that's going to be their champion. We've got 17, 18 in the mix, and it's going to take time to sort out. So I'll bear with the frustration, but I'm not giving her a free pass into the White House. At this point, by the way, at this point, just the numbers. In terms of getting 270 electoral votes, it's easier for a Democrat. It just simply is easy. It's kind of just that's kind of the reality of kind of the political world in which we live. They hold on to the core blue states. Then we've got to win the Virginias, and we've got to win the Wisconsins, and we've got to win the Nevadas, and we've got to win. Obviously, got to win the Ohio's. And by the way, you got to win Florida.
Yep.
You got to win Florida.
Yep.
Okay, so there are some kind of must wins for us. There's an easy electoral path to 270 for the other side, for the Democrats. But Hillary is she's no white knight.
Yeah.
She's got her issues. She's got her problems. Trust being probably the most significant. In addition to, by the way, what has she done?
Nothing.
Tell me her great accomplishment as Secretary of State. I'm still waiting to hear the great accomplishment.
She's done nothing.
And so she's going to be vulnerable. You'll start seeing that. When you get one-on-one. I don't want to be sexist here. Mano a mano. Okay, you get one-on-one. Then the dynamic changes. So I'm not. I'm a little frustrated. Yeah, it's kind of the nature of the process, but I'm not really worried at this point in time. It's way too early. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see who the Republican nominee is. And in the end, you get head-to-head, everything changes.
So in closing, I want to ask you this. Back to Donald for a second. I just had, first of all, just so you know.
You raised my blood pressure early in the morning.
I know. But this is your best appearance ever. This is not even good. It's great. And just so you know, even though I find a lot about Donald Trump very attractive, if the election was tomorrow, Jeb Bush gets my vote. But more importantly, I was talking to Mark Feinstein moments ago, okay? And the Yankees are in first place, Norm. But the Yankee fan is not all in yet because they're not they haven't bought in. They played 93 games. They're still waiting for Teixeira to get hurt, for A-Rod to get hurt. So I said to Mark, I said, what is the number of games the Yankees still have to be in first place before the Yankee fan says, okay, I'm diving in, right? So I'll ask you the same about Donald Trump. I agree. He's not going to win the primary. He's not going to win the presidency. But at what point, where are we? In what point, getting close to the election, does the rest of the GOP go, holy Christ, this guy's not going away?
Well, I think the point should be now.
But he ain't jumping out. It ain't going to be now.
I think it would be a terrible mistake. So Rick Perry kind of just yesterday came out and said this guy doesn't represent real conservatives. This is what they call nativism. This is demagoguery. I give Rick a pat on the back. I think there are those who say ignore Donald Trump. Just ignore him. Certainly he's touching a nerve, and let him play that out. But there's no way he's going to be the nominee. No, he's not going to be the nominee. But I think he hurts everybody. I really do. I think he cast a negative pale. You know, the reality is he can, just on the immigration question, Sid, regardless of where you're at on the issue, you got to recognize that we've got to get, our side can't get 21% of the Hispanic vote and ever elect a president, or 20% of the Asian vote and elect a president. You got to do better than that. And if Donald Trump, since you're say a standard bearer, I don't know if your audience knows Tom Tancredo, down in Colorado. This is the same thing, that kind of demagoguery. In the end, you end up killing those around you, those who kind of have that same, red jersey on, that Republican jersey. And so I think folks shouldn't ignore Donald Trump. I think they should call him what he is. And are they going to lose some folks? Are they going to be the folks who love Donald Trump? That the folks who are responding to the anger, then they may along the way. But I think for the good of the party, the good of the country, for themselves, that they ought to take this guy seriously, or to call him out, or to challenge him, by the way, on what he says and where he's been and what he really represents. I think it would be a big mistake not to do that.
He is threatening.
I think the time is now, Sid.
Okay, he is threatening because the RNC has not exactly been very supportive, as we can tell by you. I think he makes you more angry than Barack Obama. He is threatening. I
got a little agita. Early in the morning. I'm in the Midwest, and it's an hour early. Okay, so
I know it's only 7:30.
I have to cool down a little bit now.
That's all right. He is threatening to start a third party, to become an independent. Some have said if he does that, then believe it or not, that hurts the GOP even more than if he runs as a Republican.
Listen, Ross Perot elected Bill Clinton. George Bush would have won that race. And by the way, Ross Perot, Minnesota, got, I think, 27% of the vote.
Right.
Okay? So don't discount. And Jesse Ventura became governor here. Okay, and what did that get you? But all that said and done, I don't think he does a third party, because he'd have to really spend money. And from those that I know who know Donald Trump, but he's not my best friend. What I hear is that he really doesn't like to spend his own money. What he spends, he's got his brand. That's what he puts on the table on deals. It's the Trump brand, pretty strong brand. But if it comes to really shelling real cash out of his pocket, I kind of have my doubts. So I'm not as worried about the third party movement. Would it have an impact? Absolutely. If he thinks that somehow he can generate more publicity and make the money back later, maybe it's an economic calculation. He'd do it. But Sid, he's doing it for show, okay? And he's not doing it for the good of the country, and he's not doing it to build, a better society. He's doing it because he gets a lot of publicity, a lot of attention, and he lives off that. That's what moves him. But hopefully it shouldn't move the rest of America.
So what can I do on the way out to help the cause for Lindsey? I had him on. He was great. Even my own board up here, Eric, who's not exactly politically savvy. He's getting better, though. He loved Lindsey. That day he professed his love for Lindsey. I'm voting Graham, but that was like a month ago. So how do we keep Lindsey? How do we get some energy going for Lindsey Graham?
And by the way, there's a great little YouTube video about Lindsey and his cell phone.
I saw that. Yeah, it's good.
Checked it out. By the way, she's got a pretty good golf swing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he got that. He got a pretty good golf swing. Check that out. Good form. Yeah. But watch this video, and by the way, get him back on, because I'd certainly encourage him to be on your show, because I think this is as good a debate and as good a discussion as I have. And you're my cousin, and so I got to, obviously, right. People say bias in saying that, but this is as good a give and take as I get. And so I love you. Have him back. I appreciate the opportunity, and you're the very best.
I love you more. And, of course, your sister, Shannon, who I love desperately, too, and your brother-in-law, Hanan, missed their flight this morning, so they screwed up the whole plan at the lake, huh?
so I'm up early waiting for them, but I'm going to be sitting here for about 4 hours. But eventually we'll get up to the lakes in northern Minnesota.
I love you a lot, man.
Again, this is tough country in the winter.
I know.
But in the summer by this lake, there's nothing more beautiful. Nothing more beautiful. Oh. They say, our license plates say the land of 10,000 lakes. Sid, we're closer to 15,000 lakes, so we say the 10,000 because we're prone to understatement in Minnesota. but they're so magnificent, and so we'll get those Brooklyn, Jersey folks out to northern Minnesota, and they'll be. I tell you, you call God from Minnesota, it's a local call. Okay, you're really up there. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, Kevin Garnett came back, right? He couldn't wait to get back to Minnesota.
Magnificent, by the way. Just magnificent having him back. I think he's a classy guy. I'm a big Garnett. He may not have the skill he had before, but just it's like Molitor. You get somebody in the huddle there. You get somebody on the bench. And I think it has an impact on everybody around you. That's one of the great lessons of leadership. It's a wonderful thing when you see it. You know it. Garnett has that kind of ability too. So physically, maybe not what he was before, but don't discount his value to the team. You
were awesome today. I love you. I love you to death. Have fun this weekend with Shana.
Take care, guys.
All right, take care. There he is, the great Norm Coleman, my cousin. That was a great conversation. He was fired up. He's having some coffee there in St. Paul, and he thought he was going to come on and. It's going to be all nice, and and right away he said, hold on. First sentence of the conversation, what do you love about Donald Trump? Everything. Everything. I mean, I'm not sure I'd vote for Donald. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know Norm tried to talk me out of it, and I love Norm, and he's certainly a lot smarter than I am. But crude and classless doesn't bother me. If that's what you're going to tell me about Donald, his inconsistencies, I mean, give me a break. Lindsey Graham, on a Monday, there was no way he was taking down the Confederate flag. Remember that? Tuesday, take that bitch down. Don't talk to me about inconsistencies. And I mean, even Norm. I mean, no one loves Norm more than me. He was a Democrat. Now he's a Republican. I mean, in that business, you change your mind like I change my underwear. That's not going to bother me. Inconsistencies, crude, classless. That's what I want. I'm sick of politically correct. So if that's going to be the argument against now, if you could tell me Donald doesn't know what the hell he's talking about and he can't fix this or he can't fix that, that's one thing. You got to give me something more practical than crude and classless. That means nothing. I'm crude and classless, and I'm great. Thank you. Maybe I should just run. F everybody else. Would you vote? You wouldn't even vote for me. You're such a dick. No, you wouldn't.
I'd think about it.
Yeah. You would think about it.
I have to hear your...
right.
I have to hear it.
Well, I legalize prostitution.
Well, all right. You're starting to warm up.
I legalize weed in every state.
Well, now you got me.
That's all it takes?
That's it. Stop right there.
We got to take a short break. Back after this.
SOB killed 4 of our United States Marines, and I care that our commander-in-chief is more concerned with Muslim sensitivity than the honor and sacrifice made by these Marines. Now, this is the 21st time our military men and women have been attacked here at home. This is not a Middle East problem. This is an American problem, and I'm sorry, but I can't sit here and let this go. Not anymore. I come from a family of Marines. My grandpa was a World War II paratrooper. My uncle, a Vietnam Purple Heart recipient. My cousins, both Marine Corps officers. I have some very close Navy SEAL connections as well. In fact, someone very close to my heart is deployed to the Middle East right now. But the sad thing is, I was telling him last night, I think you're safer over there than you would be right here in the United States of America. I've had it with this failed strategy, this halfway, half-baked, tiptoe, be friendly to jihadis mentality pushed by this administration. Be a leader, someone. They, the radical Islamists, have brought the fight right here to the red, white, and blue, and it's about time we bring it to them, full force.
Right
Show them what
on!
the United States of America looks like up close and personal. Show them what a B-1 bomber looks like flying overhead. Show them what they're messing with. Put the fear of God in their desert, because clearly our lack of strategy isn't working.
22 years old, Tomi Lahren. She has a little television show in San Diego. It went viral. And she now joins us for the first time on national radio right here. Tomi Lahren, welcome to the Savage Nation. God bless you. What a piece you produced. How'd you do that?
Honestly, I'll tell you, it came from the heart, and I will stand by absolutely everything I said, because after the FBI press conference today, I think what I said rings even truer today than it did on Friday night.
What do you mean the FBI conference? Which one was that, Tomi?
Talking about Chattanooga and that they're still not sure whether or not Abdulaziz was radicalized or not, and I said it in my thoughts. All signs point to that. Why will not anybody come out and call it what it is?
Tonight I'm gonna break away just to wait and see. I'll never be imprisoned by a faded memory. Just when I think I'm over her.
It was a fired up Norm Coleman, huh?
You got him excited early this morning.
Z-Mac loved it. My cousin was pretty fired up there, huh? That was great stuff, man.
He was more than a little fired up. I mean, he was ready to go. And I think that clip we introed him with...
That didn't help, did it?
No, not at all.
No. Donald Trump all over him, and then Sean Hannity goes, well, Lindsey Graham deserved it.
Yeah, he was fired up. He must be a friend. Lindsey must be a friend.
I guess. He despises Trump, and then to make matters worse, there's the three of us in here, and all three morons in here are going to vote for him. I can't get enough of Donald Trump. He's at the the Texas-Mexico border right now, and he's not apologizing to them either. And he shouldn't apologize, because once he apologizes, then he does lose all credibility. You can say the most god-awful things, the worst things, just don't apologize, ever, ever.
Well, he is right when he's saying he's just coming, they're slandering him, and he's coming back. McCain
took a shot at him first, and then he took an idiotic shot.
Lindsey Graham took a shot at him.
Right.
And he also kind of idiotic gives out his cell phone number. It's kind of childish, but I mean, it's funny. It makes you laugh, but I'm like, did he really do this?
He's a child, but that's what we need. We don't want that. We want somebody who's well thought out, who's, oh, please. Ugh.
Well, Norm was really stuck on the fact that, what about your kids? You're going to show them our leader?
I'm the wrong guy to ask about that.
I mean, come on.
I'm the wrong guy.
No, not even that.
I curse in my house like a sailor. The grandmother, my mom, Naomi, Rara, they call her. I mean, she makes Richard Pryor look like a priest. Are you kidding me? What about crude and classless in the Rosenberg house? I mean, Christ.
Doesn't Norm know that?
He knows that. That's what, it's funny because he grew up he's got 8 brothers and sisters, and a lot of them are degenerates, to be honest. And he grew up in Brooklyn. Then he went to Iowa and Minnesota. Now he's a good old boy out there in Minnesota, but he knows better. Comes to one of our family events, he's reminded very, very quickly that crude and classless is exactly what we all are, all of us. So that's not going to deter me from voting for somebody that they're crude and classless. That I got somebody be really nice and lie to me, or somebody be really nice and do nothing. That doesn't mean that Lindsey Graham is not a great candidate, or Jeb Bush, or Scott Walker, but none of these guys are doing anything. I mean, none of them. None of them.
You think a part of this is the fact that Norm lost to a non-politician in Jesse Ventura?
Maybe.
And now Trump's not a politician?
He lost Al Franken, too.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he lost the gubernatorial to Jesse first.
Okay.
Then he won Senate, and then he lost to Al. So there may be some of that, like these clowns, and they both clowns. Jesse and Al are both clowns. And Norm is a really bright, legitimate politician. So there may be a bad taste in his mouth when he sees a guy who has no political history step in there and actually have success. That may very well be true. That's a very good job out of you. Look at you.
He was fired up, man.
He was really pissed.
It was
really pissed.
Great radio, but
I've never heard him like that.
I mean, if you guys were sitting around the dinner table, that might have got ugly, man.
We may have come to blows. Yeah,
there might have some parents might have had to step in the middle or something. I mean,
well, my father agrees with me. My brother-in-law, I don't know. Well, you guys are on my side, right?
It could be a family war. That could have turned into the old Ricky Bobby fighting, or even better, the old Doors movie when Jim has that Thanksgiving party and they're all messed up and they turn into a big fight. I don't know if you remember that.
On the trampoline?
They start throwing, the turkey.
Dewey Cox?
No. Jim, the Doors, Jim Morrison. But another Dewey Cox is another good example.
Didn't something happen at the Dewey Cox thing on the trampoline? What happened? It was a Thanksgiving, if I remember correctly, and Dewey was there with the whole family, and it turned into a very unfortunate event.
Could have been just like that, man.
Just like that. I mean, bang.
Family war at a
right
nice
over Donald Trump. Could you imagine how many people, honestly, in this country, yell and scream at each other over Donald? Because you got brothers and sisters and cousins. Like I have a cousin, Linda, who I think is a brilliant young lady. She's terrific at what she does, and I love her to death. But she's lost when it comes to politics, and she'll say I'm lost. She's been around longer than me, but she is like a Democrat with a capital D. She'll vote for Hillary because she's a woman. Trust me, she'll vote for Hillary because she's a woman, and that makes me sick, to be honest. And when I ask her what Hillary's done well, she'll ask me, what did she do badly? Well, that's not the question. What did she do badly? She's a bad Secretary of State. Why? That's not the question. The question is, why was she a good one? Well, there's no answer.
None.
I
actually had this conversation yesterday. I put someone on Facebook.
So why are you voting for her? Well, because she's... I mean, look, the social issues, those are done, folks. You got it. If you really believe that a Republican president is going to take over and we're going to outlaw abortion in this country, you're a moron. You really are a moron. So stop with the, I'm right to lie. Listen, I'm all for that too, okay? I didn't get a change. You got the gay people can get married. Thank God. I'm all for that. So these social deals, you won all that. Now the question becomes, do you want somebody running this country who's a wuss and has no idea how to handle the economy? That's the question. Don't talk to me about Democrat and social issues and all this other women and nonsense. It's nonsense. None of that is going to change. None of that.
And Norm's almost like he's going to divide the country. I mean, the country's as divided as it's been in.
Oh, please.
I mean, I'm not a presidential historian.
He can't divide the country. Exactly.
It's already.
That's why he's getting this much play. You know, he's not dividing the country or the party's a mess. No one else has done anything. I'm sorry.
No, it's a complete mess.
Marco Rubio was good on Fox, so I kind of enjoyed that. I'm going to be honest. Who's on line two? My screen is broken here.
Yeah, I'm going to have Emily write these down. Give me a sec. I'll get
hold on. Line 2 is Fish.
Okay. Fish, hello.
Yeah, what your cousin Norm there was saying is exactly what I heard when Clinton was running. He's never going to do this. He's never going to do that. He's a cheater. When Clinton played the saxophone on MTV and that big show they had, my parents raised their eyebrows at me like, really? This guy's going to be the next president? I go, yeah, he is, because he's the most popular guy. And the more you say he's not going to be, the more you're going to make people say he is going to be. So Norm is bringing back memories, man. Keep saying he's not going to be. Everybody's saying he's not going to be, but guess what? He is going to be.
I'm going to stop short of saying that also. Listen, I've lost more bets than I've won in my life. I always say you don't get a front seat at GA for winning. But if I had to bet on this one, he ain't going away. He ain't going away. Now, I wouldn't bet on him. I don't think he'll win the primary. I don't think he'll be president. I think he'll be gone before we get all that close. That would be my bet if I had to bet it, but I would not feel comfortable betting on that. Dale, what's going on?
You know why Donald Trump's the perfect person to be our next president? Because the Democratic Party obviously hates his guts, but the Republican Party hates his guts. And that's what this country needs. That's what the people need, Sid. And I love when his own party comes on and they bash this guy. They bash him and they bash. That just tells me that he's the best candidate. There's only two people in this country better qualified to run this country. One, Michael Savage. Two, Ted Nugent. Donald Trump, the next president.
Oh, my God. Michael Savage and Ted Nugent. Oh, Dale is crazy. He didn't seem crazy when I met him on the train that night. He seemed relatively put together okay and normal, but Ted Nugent, Michael Savage, and Donald Trump. But there is something to that it's one thing when the other side hates you, but when there's that much fervor in hate from your own side, that says one thing only, and they're scared. Bottom line, because you wouldn't get that angry, you wouldn't waste your time yelling and screaming if, in fact, you didn't view him as a legitimate threat. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Republican candidates are huddled together saying, what do we do?
How do we get rid of him?
Guy?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they are basically. Rick Perry's on one show, and Rick Perry's a dud. I know Joyce loves him, and my cousin Norm loves him. He's a dud. He's yelling and screaming about him. Lindsey Graham is yelling and screaming about him. Marco Rubio compared him to Obama yesterday on Fox as classless. And so they're all out there, not together, but individually, taking shots now with Donald Trump. All of them except with Ted Cruz. Cruz still kind of likes him. He won't kill him, you know.
No, I know.
He'll disagree about the McCain comments, but he will not kill Donald Trump.
That's actually how Senator Cotton was on Meet the Press. And he's a veteran, and Chuck asked him point blank, and he said, "Well, I don't agree with it. Just let him go on with his campaign." But he didn't rip him. He didn't go the route that everyone seems to be going, like Lindsey did.
Here's Ryan. Good morning, Ryan.
What's going on, Sid? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, pal. How are you?
Long-time listener. Listen, I consider myself an educated person. I'm an attorney. I've been following all the election politics stuff on TV. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump. Now, I consider myself a moderate Republican, okay? But I'm really sick of Democrats, the Republicans. They can't agree on anything. There's finger-pointing. There's finger-wagging. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that. It's enough already. It's all nonsense. They all speak like Tony Sperano. They say all these things. They just try to say the right thing and do the right thing and hope the right way. At least Trump is being honest. You may not agree with what he has to say, and he might be saying some controversial things.
Well, there are some that'll say, Ryan. There are some that'll say in trying to take down Donald that he's not being honest. That at this point he's actually saying things just to get a strike a chord with the crowd. Either way, I'm with you because he is striking a chord. I yelled at Norm about that. I said, listen, I know Jeb talked about immigration. It was actually very controversial. Same thing with Marco Rubio, but no one is talking about it unless Donald brings it up. That brings awareness. That is important. Now Norm kind of put that down a bit, but minimized that. But the fact is, when Donald Trump brings up something, the country starts to talk about it, whether he's being honest or not.
Now, let me tell you this, okay? He goes on TV. He gives speeches off the cuff. He goes and gives interviews with no assistants there, no one prompting him, no cue cards. I mean, he just goes and talks and just says whatever's on his mind. You got to give a guy like that a lot of credit, because in this day and age, from teleprompters to all these staff members, making sure you say the right thing, you don't say something too controversial. Quite honestly, I like the fact that he's honest. I like the fact that he's willing to say what's on his mind. It's very refreshing in this day and age of politics. And you know what? He has a lot of money, and he is rich, and he tells people that too. But you know what? He doesn't need lobbyists. He doesn't need your donation. He doesn't need my donation. He's completely independent on his own money, and he can do whatever he wants to do without any exterior or outside influence. I mean, think about that for a second. All these other guys are raising money from this group and that group and this group and that group. I mean, you know, when people have your hands in your pockets, people have your hands in your pockets, okay? So there's something that has to be said for that type of influence, whether it's direct or indirect or minuscule at best. He has his own money to work with. You know, so I'm a big fan. I'm not a big fan of some of the things he says, but at least he's refreshing. All these other guys, they say all these things when in all actuality they speak for hours by saying nothing.
All right, can't argue. No, that's exactly right, Ryan. Thank you for the phone call. And that's basically the people that are behind Trump, including me, that's what we're saying. We don't agree with everything he says. I certainly had an issue with what he said about John McCain. Anybody who argues whether John McCain is a war hero or not is an idiot. He's a war hero. It's not even up for debate on this show. It's idiotic to say anything other than that. But it is fair to say that John has not done a great job with the veterans, despite what Norm said, and that we treat those folks very shabbily in this country, and it needs to be brought up. We had the whole VA issue months ago when McDonnell took over, and hasn't gotten a lot better since, no matter what he says. So again, it's just another situation where Trump said something inflammatory, said something offensive, but at least he's got the country talking. Harvey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. As long as you're talking about McCain, McCain is brain dead. He has not done a damn thing. He's got a name. Yes, he was a prisoner of war. Yes, he is a hero. Let's get back to this business with the election. We have lost for many, many, many years, and Trump is giving back the United States to all these brain-dead morons who live here, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, a right to speak their piece, a right to take this country back. And he's the only one, not the old school, old rule, whatever you want to call these guys. Oh, I can't answer that. I got to look up in my handbook. I got to listen to my advisors. That's what they do. It took Jeb Bush 2 weeks to answer a question that he was given on the air. And he comes back and he gives it back. Something I don't recall the subject, but they all have
the Iraq. That was the Iraq War. That was the Iraq War you're talking about. You're right.
That's the way it's going to be. No, I'm not your grandfather. Your light in your brain is not going to say tattoo. Use your mind. Use your own judgment and make up your mind if you want to be back into a country that's so strong, so free, and you are free. You're not free now. They've taken everything away from you. This bastard deserves to be his balls be cut off.
All right, this is exactly the American I'm talking about that loves Donald Trump. The angry American. He wants to castrate Barack Obama. He wants to cut his balls off.
That cheered me up. I like that.
I know. It's great. Well, that's why we like Michael Savage, too. He's in a war right now with Mark Levin. I mean, an all-out war, which is interesting. But that's why we like him, too. 888-640-9385. We had Mark Feinsand on talking about the red-hot first-place Yanks looking to sweep all four from Baltimore in the Bronx. An afternoon tilt with Tanaka on the mound coming up at 1 before the Yankees head to Minnesota. The Mets start a 4-game set in Queens tonight. 3 back of the Nationals against the NL West leading Los Angeles Dodgers. Chad Johnson, there's an arrest warrant out for him again. And Eli Manning, will that deal get done? The Giants quarterback, will that get done before the start of training camp? Plus more on Donald Trump from all of the guys in the GOP. We got all of that coming up the last hour of the show.